How many times have you seen older women say things like, "I know my worth on dating apps. I'm looking for a guy to settle down with," or "I don't have time for games and I'm looking for something serious"? These are usually the words of a woman who has spent the past few decades working or living the best possible life and is now looking for the right partner to keep her from dying alone. Dating apps are flooded with older women in their 30s looking for a man who can have children and some stability in the hope that the man will eventually wipe them out and become their retirement plan. What these men don't realize, however, is that men this age have been deeply scarred by countless rejections, sexless marriages, child support disputes, and divorces. Men have had some understanding of the situation over the decades and are therefore less likely to settle down with an older woman. Historically, older women were able to find men willing to marry them. Since men were naive to women under the legal system, it was because most women didn't frequent these streets at the time. But when the men start to witness their friends and relatives being arrested in family court, the spouses of their so-called lovers turn against them for being unhappy and greedy for money. When men start to see their friends and relatives being dealt with in family court, men start to see through the deception that is going on. A few years later, a movement by men who decided to go their own way went a long way toward breaking the beliefs of older ladies that they always carried cleanser in their back pockets. If you keep using dating apps in today's world, there are still plenty of monkey sims who will thirst and offer attention and approval to older women, albeit nowhere near the attention they received when they were younger. The problem with older women is that they're starting to realize that they're wrongly holding on to the feminist theory that men don't commit crimes as often as they used to. They were later told that when they drank female coal there was always a man there, but they continued drinking. Therefore, getting married at a young age should not be their priority. Instead, they should focus on their work or career. What did these ladies choose? They choose to put their stable partners aside and go with those who really need them, hoping they all belong to them. Sex travel as much as you can before settling down. Things didn't work out as expected, as social media and dating apps, once popular, marked the beginning of a connection culture. Older women would not be using dating apps to find men willing to have a relationship with them if there had never been a culture of casual sexual encounters as we know them today and the onset of diminishing dating and partnerships. Just a friendly reminder that it is women, not men, who primarily pioneer the culture of casual sexual encounters. Women are single-handedly ruining their own dating future with the next generation just because they want the man they want and want to have fun. That's the only reason they want to have fun. So I would question whether it's really worth it for these more mature women who lead to dating failure. Worst of all, the same women who are now using dating apps and complaining about a lack of suitable men are contributing to the demise of dating and relationships, while their daughters, now in their 20s, are in their 30s too early to follow their moms in the relationship department after footsteps, settle down in the same boat looking for the right man. The problem is, none of these men are willing to settle down because divorce has become so risky. No man wants to marry a woman who is being romantically courted by hundreds of men because the other men she likes aren't interested in her. Men don't want women or girlfriends who only date them. Men no longer want to risk their life savings for a woman who only wants to scam her of her hard-earned money and take away the man's hard work. Men aren't as dumb as they used to be, and more middle-aged and older women are realizing that men have learned how to cope with life without them and are actually happier with themselves. These older ladies these days who often complain and divert their negative energy onto dating apps are in the form of strong and self-sufficient women who don't need the company of a man at any point in their lives. Also, I want you all to remember that these women have been working for years to change their self-destructive behavior and maybe meet a partner who is worthy of their love. Never forget that many of these women were married before but left their husbands believing they could find better business elsewhere. After leaving their husbands, they took their children and their husbands' money and entered the blind date circle, hoping to bypass all the women and enjoy first-class men exclusively. The harsh reality, though, is that most of these post-war women were promised nothing more than a harsh, blunt whistle, and that was the reward for their lack of commitment. So you should never feel sorry for any of these ladies or try to save them because they voluntarily put themselves in this situation hoping to get a bigger and better deal for themselves. Plus, rich men have the opportunity to date younger, productive women with firmer skin than older crones. This doesn't apply to the poor. So why do men choose to date older women when they can have the kind of women they didn't have in the past, especially given the current economic climate that is on the brink of another recession and the clock is getting tougher? Why do men pay more to have a woman who is frail and desperate for attachment? It doesn't make sense. Women marketing themselves online are targeting what trainer Greg Adams calls their 20s. Also, it's important to remember that women attract this issue by divorcing their husbands in search of better opportunities and living their best lives. Therefore, you should never have the slightest sympathy for these ladies. Always remember to keep your veins cool and use them only to dedicate yourself to an older lady who has spent decades providing her time and body to various men while you the best weeks of your life. You are someone who is ignored as a viable option and they try to avoid it. Also, women in these age groups will come from the big grooming world and take you to the dry cleaners because they are not suitable wives and are looking for a retirement plan rather than a potential life partner. If you're on these dating apps and older ladies are interested in you and paying attention to you, you need to know yourself and get some perspective. Remember, when they are young, they will willfully ignore and disrespect your laughter and giggles. Now that they're older, why do they think you're a viable option? I agree. Gentlemen, they just want to lure you into their trap. That's all. They don't love you because your husband drove them out of love for years after going through 3 bodies. All they want now is your money and possibly a child. So always remember, I could go on and on about the challenges women face when using dating apps, but I'll let them tell you what it's like to use them. Internet dating leaving middle-aged women alone was the headline of an article published in The Guardian. Let's move on to this topic. Relationship expert and painful aunt Susan Quilliam reports that some women have had a hellish experience using online dating services. Men are more likely to date across age groups, but they're also more likely to start new relationships and less inclined to give someone a second chance. Men also tend to date younger and older women, which may seem grim. However, they are significantly more prone to rapid romantic feelings. What men value is whether you meet the requirements, while women are often more cautious. Sadly, men in their 20s and 30s are attracted to their partners because women in their 40s and 50s are considered more sexually active and able to provide more pleasure than women in their 20s. Now, gentlemen, you can see for yourself that older women in their 40s and 50s who use dating apps have no advantage over younger women when it comes to options. Wow, isn't it shocking? I mean, who couldn't have foreseen this? But they took it upon themselves first. Therefore, you shouldn't feel sorry for them. Let the ice water circulate through your veins. Let's continue. According to a study, dating has become more difficult for divorced women due to the ensuing complications, increased anxiety and stress. Trying to find love again when you have kids is a daunting task. Being a single parent can be challenging. Netlum spokesperson and mother Nicola Hammond acknowledged this, saying that parents raising children alone often feel like they have nothing of value to offer the world. Trying to meet new people in bars and clubs can feel like something young people do. It's because her world narrows, especially when you meet single partners and babysitters who take you there. However, not everyone expects to find their significant other online. Susan Broom is a bubbly woman, 48 years old, who is no longer actively seeking men. Online at least, she gave up trying to find a partner. Plus, she doesn't shy away from acknowledging the fact that she's experiencing the depression that comes with it. I stopped using online dating after learning that the only people I connected with were older men, a demographic I wasn't particularly interested in because I preferred to date men my own age. But most men my age are only interested in women in their 20s and 30s. This made it difficult for me to find a partner. It can be a full-time job if you're really having a hard time meeting the kind of guy worth dating. Because the men worth dating are the ones who refuse to see you as a potential date because anything is possible. Gentlemen, did you not hear what I said? Let her die in peace. Even if a man tries hard to reach out and express his interest, a woman will still reject him, hoping to find someone more suitable. She may be dating men in their 50s and 70s, but she still doesn't want to settle down, even though polygamy is and will continue to be unbeatable. I don't even have to say more, because everything I've said so far has played out in the lives of these women. Like I said, let her die alone. I don't have to say anything. Let's take a look at another article by Evan Marquette discussing why women in their 30s aren't interested in dating men in their 40s. Let's see what these ladies have to say, shall we? Hi, my name is Rachel. I am a 37-year-old woman who has been dating online for many years. I'm healthy, have a job, etc. I have never been married and have no children. I'm looking for a guy, but I'm not ready to settle down yet. I'll be dating a 4 or 2-year-old. No problem. But, as you pointed out, men in their 40s are looking for women in their 80s, 27 to 34. In my early 30s, everyone in their 40s seemed a little older than me. It's a weird way things are going, but in my experience I get a lot of letters from people in the crowded 50-plus age group. Sorry, I'm not interested in dating. My father and I agree with you that we get along very well. All I can say about this gentleman is that I am dead myself. What can I say? Look at how much time these ladies have been having in the world. I would never buy into the idea of urging a guy to settle down with an older lady because that in itself is a red flag. However, the world is like this. Let her mess around by herself. I do not care. Let's look at another one. At 34, Kim said it was obvious when the sun came up that it was a wrong decision to delay for so long. This makes things more difficult, but not impossible. However, it is always recommended that you have a lot of free time and should travel around the world. They say it's acceptable as long as you're not sure if you want a family in the future. I want a child by myself, and I will persuade her to get married when she is 30 years old. If you want to have a family in the future, you have to accept the fact that you don't have a full day to get everything done. Guys, what else do we need to tell you about this situation? It's about a woman in her 30s who comes to the conclusion that having a baby was a terrible mistake and says she's sorry for making the decision. Not only that, but because she couldn't find a suitable partner to start a family, she had no choice but to conceive herself. As I mentioned before, you shouldn't feel sorry for these people or have any sympathy for them. She doesn't mention all the people who want to start a family with her, or how she's living her best life on the carousel, but we know she's not at home while she sits waiting for a decent man to wet her on the vice. She's living her best life on a merry-go-round. She didn't mention all the men the whole time. Gentlemen, let the cold water continue to flow in your hearts and continue to live the free agent lifestyle. How to get to the top. Men who choose to forge their own path in the monk mode army currently have an advantage when it comes to dating older women. If you give in and commit, if you don't stick to the path to free agency, I guarantee you will regret your decision in the future.